There's an animal.
Sweetheart, I'm sure there's a lot of animals.
It's a monster. Okay, I saw it. It crawled out of the ocean, and it walks on land, and it drags its food back out to this... There's a black hole out there.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Frankenstein's podcast, where it's all about the monster. We are a creature feature podcast about monsters and why we love them. I'm one of your hosts, Joe Praska, and with me is...
your other host, Khalid Hussein.
What is up, Khalid?
Not much, man. I'm just having a nice, semi-relaxing Sunday before a pretty busy week. Yeah. I'm planning to make a nice family trip back home to Minnesota. So looking forward to all of that coming up. Yeah. How about you, man? What's new with you?
Honestly, not a lot. We're just kind of, do my thing. Nothing. Yeah. That's kind of boring answer, but nothing new. Wow.
Honestly, for you, nothing is good news. Sometimes, like, when you're like, I have news, it's just like a bunch of like it's a series of unfortunate events is what it is.
Furnace goes out, children sick, all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Jim Carrey's in a bunch of disguises. It's not great.
Yeah. Penguins. No, that's a different movie, isn't it? I mean, Jim Carrey. Yeah. Got me going.
Like Mr. Popper's Penguin?
That's the one. Yeah. That's the one. That's a movie.
Yeah, no, all facts. That is a movie.
Yeah. Khalid, I know I'm always here for your witty banter, but I'm going to move us along quick because we have a very special guest and I'm super, super pumped to bring him on. Khalid, joining us today is Mark H. Harris, who's a journalist, horror buff, creator of the website blackhorrormovies.com, which is a great go-to site for chronicling the history of Black history and horror. His writings have appeared in New York Magazine, Vulture, Rotten Tomatoes, and many more. His most recent book, The Black Guy Dies First, co-written with Dr. Robin Means Coleman, is a deep dive into the history and impact of Black actors and creatives in the horror genre. Welcome, Mark.
Hi, thanks for having us.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah. That is quite the resume I just read out. I feel like I wrote that. I'm like, we're reading out loud. I'm like, oh, damn, this guy's done a lot.
Yeah, it means I'm pretty old, I think. I think that's all it means right now at this point.
I don't know. I don't think I told you this, Mark, when we were talking on email, but I actually, when we started this podcast, probably like 2, maybe 3 years ago now, but I remember in the beginning of this like journey of our creature feature podcast, I found your blog, blackhorrormovies.com, and I was a big fan for a while. So I haven't checked it super recently, but so I've kind of followed you for a little while now.
Cool. Thank you. Well, you haven't missed much recently because I haven't updated a whole lot. I've been busy with the book, so
I'm sure. Yeah, the book's a big deal. I really enjoy it. I will get into it in a little bit, but given that you're a new guest on the pod, I have a couple of guest questions that I ask all our new guests. Are you ready?
I am ready.
All right. So big question. Since we're a creature feature thing, what would you say in like all of pop culture, and this could be like movies, books, anything, shows, what's your favorite like monster or creature? And if it's not the same, what would you consider to be the scariest?
Well, I mean, it's pretty hard to pick, but I mean, I think my favorite, I think any movie horror kind of fan would probably pick something like Alien or Predator or The Thing, and those are all up there for me. But I think in order to not repeat what probably a lot of people have already said, I think I'm going to go a little bit out of the box and go with the aliens from Attack the Block.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, they were just so. I remember watching it and I was so blown away by just how simple yet just scary, and they were like these sentient furballs that were just they were fast, they were big, they were mean, they were sleek. I mean, you couldn't even see any features on them except for their teeth, and it was just so effective, like how they did it, and it was just awesome. The whole movie was awesome, but the creature design, I think, was really just blew me away. And I think For scariest, that's tough for me because honestly, I like creature features and monster movies, but I rarely find them actually scary. I like them as just fun, adventure type things. So um, it's hard for me to say scary. I mean, I think the thing the thing that scares me the most is usually more like human monsters,
Yeah.
Um, so I think if I wanted to go like the monster route, I think I would kind of go with maybe something like the thing from It Follows, which took human form, and it could just be like, it just creeped me out that, it could just be anybody, and you could just like, you would get paranoid about, who is this person in the distance just slowly walking towards you. That I think would be, it's always been the scariest to me, is just, the human element more than the supernatural element.
Right. Great answers, by the way. We are big Attack the Block fans too. That was like our second episode we did on this podcast.
I think both of
Cool.
those were like our first 10 episodes.
That's true. We did It Follows really easy too. But yeah, that's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
The human element, but like something slightly off is like that is true.
Yeah.
That is truly terrifying. That's a good one. Yeah. Second question. I know that you're like a big horror buff. Horror movies is kind of your forte, but the question is what is on your geek card? What are you geeky about? So if that might be your answer, but if you have something else to share, this is your chance to own that.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I mean, since I created a whole website and wrote a whole book about like the Black presence in horror, I think that's really the thing that I'm find myself geeking out about, is just, kind of, pushing my glasses up and saying, well, actually, in this Black character in this movie died, but not in this one, So I kind of have a bunch of useless information in my head about the fate of Black characters in horror movies and who's in what movie and that sort of thing. So I think that's really my claim to fame, I guess.
Yeah, perfect for a podcast.
Exactly.
So honestly, the book, The Black Guy Dies First, is super awesome. I recently, I think you may have seen it on Twitter, I got it from this really cool like little bookstore here where I'm up in St. Paul, Minnesota, called Black Garnet Books. I just want to give them a shout out. They're like one of the, I think the only Black owned bookstore here in the Twin Cities area. But they were really excited when I bought the book, because the person I bought it from was like, "Oh, I love this book, is so cool. I'm a big horror fan," and they're really excited for it. But I'm really enjoying it. It's this like kind of, I love these kinds of like deep like sociological like commentaries of the genre. I feel like it does a good job balancing like a love and like celebration of the genre with like good poignant critiques. There's like a distinct voice, I feel like, and I love that you give some space for like Black horror comedy movies too. I sometimes see like critiques of the genre like will overlook horror comedy sometimes, so I like that you have that. It's always a fascinating one.
Yeah, thanks.
But so I know that you mentioned you've done like 2 like circuits, interview circuits, so you've talked about this to death, so I'm not gonna to death I'm not gonna bore you with a bunch of questions, but I feel like I wanted to ask you just a little bit. Being kind of a formative thinker on this kind of topic, and something that you just like generally geek out about, like Black representation in horror and specifically like the characters that die. Is there something like new that you learned from the book, that from researching for it, or something that just you were like, whoa, that's really awesome, I'm always going to pull out that fun fact now that I've learned it?
Yeah, I mean, I think we kind of, when we plotted out the book, we had different topics that we decided we wanted to discuss. And I wasn't really, I had a general knowledge about everything, a lot of stuff. But the one area that really I kind of needed to dig a little deeper on probably was the Black LGBTQ plus representation that we kind of tried to go deep a little bit on that in one of our chapters. And that's something that really I hadn't been exposed to a whole lot, largely because there isn't a whole lot of it, to get into. So it's kind of, a minority within a minority. So I had to I kind of just trying to dug in as deep as I could. And I found some interesting examples things that I wasn't quite aware of. I mean, I was aware of a few things like there's an old 1960s movie, Rape of the Vampire, that has a black female villain that is kind of lesbian presenting. They never really go into it too deeply, but that was one of the early ones that I was aware of. But there were some others that I came across that I wasn't really aware of. I think there's one called Macumba Sexual, who was a Jess Franco movie from like 1980 or so. And it also had a black female, in the movie, it was a black female villain. The actress who played it was actually turned out to be a trans woman, which I thought was really fascinating for like 1980. It was something that I never, imagined would really even be in a movie. And they didn't really acknowledge it in the movie, but, looking into the background of the actress, she was a trans woman who became a model and that sort of thing. And I don't think it was really open out in the public that she was trans, because I think she was like a jet beauty of the week at some point, or beauty of the month or something. And I don't think they would have picked her if they had known she was trans in that day and age. So I don't think it was out in the open, but I just think it was really fascinating that actually happened. And so there was little bits and pieces like that I really came across. It really was new to me, and it was fascinating.
That's awesome. That's super fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah.
I also wanted to ask you, you and Dr. Coleman both listed like your top 10 like black horror movies in the book. And I wanted to ask you about the love that you kind of give, I think specifically to Alien versus Predator, which is not a normally loved movie. And I really appreciate it, because I actually I don't love the second one very much, but I kind of love that first one. Like, kind of a lot. So I was wondering, is that like a legit like love of yours, or were you just like, okay, within this category, I'll count it? Or do you love that movie too?
No, I really think it's underrated. I mean, it's one of my favorite of both franchises, frankly, because I mean, I just think, I mean, it was kind of, it was a popcorn movie, I understand why some people didn't like it so much, but it was really fun. It was action packed. The action sequences were great. It really delivered on the promise of Alien versus Predator. You had the fighting, you had like some great battle sequences. I mean, I enjoyed it a lot. I mean, and to top the cherry on the cake was that the female protagonist was a black woman, Sanaa Lathan. Yeah, she did a great job. She was awesome. So, I mean, I loved it, really. I mean, we might be in a minority, but I mean, I'm there with you. I got you.
Well, if we do that movie on the podcast, we'll have to have you back on.
Oh yeah. I'd love that.
And last thing, I kind of was this one actually just popped in my head for some reason, and you may get to this in the book. I'm not sure. I'm not full disclosure. I'm not entirely finished with it, but I was thinking about the movie The Thing, and with looking at movies where the black guy tends to die. Would you, as kind of the expert on this topic, would you say that Keith David dies in that movie? Because I know it's a controversy that is he alive, or is he the Thing? Like, what would in your expert opinion on black guy may or may not die in the movie? Did he die in that movie?
I would chalk it up to him living. I mean, he doesn't. When the credits roll, he's not dead. So in my book, he's still alive. For all we know, he could be, on a beach somewhere in Aruba. So.
Glass half full.
I love that answer. Yeah.
Especially in that era, I got to take what I can get, because it was pretty slim pickings back then. So for me, he lived.
Yes. All right. You hear to hear, folks. He lived.
Kurt Russell was looking pretty possessed. I'm with you.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll keep it there for the book. I will just say to anyone listening, if you haven't checked out Black Guy Dies First, go get it. It's a blast, super fun. If you're into the genre like we are, highly recommended.
Thank you.
Khalid, will you transition us? What's our topic in question today?
Thanks for asking, Joe, and thank you for all that amazing conversation, Mark. That was fun to listen to. Today we are talking about the 2019 film directed by J.D. Dillard called Sweetheart, and we've got a synopsis from our homeboy Google that goes a little something like this. A shipwreck survivor on an uninhabited tropical island must fend off a malevolent force that surfaces each night. Appropriately short today.
What a monster.
They're creatures of the abstract that live off potential energy.
It's alive!
All right, good. Yeah, good synopsis. Thanks, Google. I guess.
A little passive aggressive to our homeboy Google.
I don't know where that came from. I'm sorry. All right, moving on. Anyway, so Mark, you gave me a good list of movies to choose from coming on the pod, and this was on the list, and I was excited to pick this one, but why don't you, since you kind of came up with this list and proposed this movie, could you share like your kind of initial thoughts of this movie? I'm guessing you may have seen it before this like most recent viewing, but what did you think of it?
Yeah, I mean, I remember I watched it when it came out on Netflix, and I remember enjoying it. It was one of my top choices of the year. I mean, it was. I like its simplicity. It was just kind of a simple kind of man or woman versus nature kind of story, where it's just basically this woman in the wilderness and this creature that comes out, and it's her and him or her and it, and they go at it. You know, there's really only like 3 characters in the whole movie. It's kind of like Castaway meets Cthulhu or something. So it's like, I just like, you don't need a whole lot of story and a whole lot of like twists and stuff. A lot of times, just make sure, have the basic elements there for a monster movie, a monster and a cool monster, a cool hero, and just let them go at it.
Awesome. Yeah. Khalid, how about you? This is your first time seeing it, right?
Yes, first time seeing it. I may have heard of it when it came out in 2019. It kind of sounded familiar, but I'm honestly like this was the first time I thought about it since then. So like I was interested, and I went in knowing like next to nothing about the movie. So it was. I enjoyed the film overall. I think what really appealed to me was I've been watching Yellow Jackets recently. The new season has been out for the last few weeks, and there's definitely like some spiritual similarity to like Yellow Jackets, which is also similar to Lost, and that like whole thing of like a wreck like or something like leaves you on a deserted plane, and you plane as in PLAIN, not a flying plane, and you are kind of like left to survive on your own, and it's like as if that wasn't bad enough, there's also some supernatural crap going on. So I was definitely in the headspace for a movie like this. And yeah, I have to echo a couple of Mark's comments just about the simplicity of it. That first, like, I want to say like 30 plus minutes, maybe 40 minutes of it, where it's really just kind of her doing her own thing. And like every once in a while, she has to do something about the monster, but it's really more about just like Kiersey Clemons playing as Jen and like really trying to just like baseline survive aside from everything else she has to do. That was really compelling to watch. And then I think the pivot to having the extra cast members come in helps with the pacing of the end, and like also adds like a little bit more tension that you would need just to make that third act pay off the way it does. But yeah, initial thoughts overall, this is a fun time. I will say my one thing against it, which is like it's almost not even a criticism, but like I really wish I had seen this in a theater, like this is the kind of thing that like you would just be like, especially at what is it, like 82 minutes, like you would be really, really just like sucked in a theater. And I was like watching it at home, and I don't know about you guys, but like the night scenes were very hard to discern in a way that I think like part of it was just like the sun was like kind of hitting my TV and everything. And so like it was just like these little things where I was just like, I'm understanding and impressed with what they pulled off with this movie, which I don't know what the budget is, but it doesn't seem like it's like crazy high. But I feel like I would have gotten the full effect if I was like in a theater with like the speakers just blaring, and like the like scary moments would just be like that much scarier. But overall, yeah, no, this is a fun, enjoyable watch. What about you, Joe?
Yeah, thanks for asking. You watched this during the day?
Of course I did, Joe. I had no idea what it was. You think I'm gonna risk being scared and having nightmares?
Fair. No, I watched that night. It was the night scenes looked decent at night, I'd say.
Okay.
I really liked it overall. I've actually been excited to cover this on the podcast for a while. I really enjoyed J.D. Dillard's previous film, Slight. Did you ever see that one, Clede?
Is that about magicians or something?
Yeah. Well, it's like superpowered Mark, did you see Slight?
Chris
Yeah,
Evans?
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
No, not Chris.
not Chris
It's
Evans. No.
It's a kind of a low key superhero movie, I guess. It's magic, but it's almost sort of like he's kind of a homemade superhero, I guess, versus some drug dealers. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a really
okay. Yeah, I think I saw it.
I feel like we may have talked about it like that, but I really enjoyed that movie. And I remember that movie kind of stuck with me for a while. And so hearing that Dillard was taking on a monster movie, I was really excited about this. So this is my first time watching it, but it's been one that has been on my list for a while. But I think, like what you guys said, it does a really nice job of like just crafting tension over the course of the film. It's like short, tight, compact. But I thought in the beginning, before the monster even shows up, like the tension was really high. I was like, oh my God, like I can't really, when the monster shows up, I'm going to be real stressed. But Kiersey Clemons is phenomenal. Like just the way she's able to like doing the acting, like just the solo acting, like the dialogueless scenes, like were so well done. And even when when they bring in the other characters and like kind of change the mechanics of the film in a sense, she does a lot with very little. And I like the monster elements. I think there's a lot of cool themes going on in there. But ultimately it's just a lot of fun. Like it's a fun, like person v monster film. Like there's a cool, like water creature. And I love those like fish creature kind of things, like Shape of Water and all that. One thing that kind of stuck out to me, I really enjoyed the kind of like synthy kind of score that they had behind it. It felt really like earnest. And like, I feel like sometimes when you see a movie, like, especially like horror movies, like using kind of this, like the synth tracks, it's like this almost like nostalgia bait in a way, like a Stranger Things kind of thing where they're like, it's retro, but I felt really earnest. And in that way, it almost more so reminded me of like, almost like a John Carpenter kind of like his own synth score that he would do for movies, you know, like that feels earnest and like genuine to the movie itself. So I really liked it. I'm a big fan.
Nice. No, yeah, I gotta agree with a lot of that. The music was really good too. That was one thing I missed. So thanks for bringing that up.
So I feel like the movie, in a sense, is kind of broken down into two big parts. There's like the castaway bits in the beginning where she's all by herself and kind of figuring it out, and then there's kind of the parts where I think it's her boyfriend, right? The guy's supposed to be
that's where the
right?
movie title comes from. Is he always calls her
His
sweetheart?
there, yeah, like in a really gaslighting kind of way, right?
I was
and then
confused because like when that first dude she pulls up to shore with, who like has like the coral in his like that he got stabbed with and dies from or whatever, I thought he was her boyfriend, especially when she was looking at pictures and stuff like that.
oh yeah,
And then this guy showed up, and I was like, well, who's that guy?
the movie does a lot of like not really telling you. Well, you kind of have to put the pieces together yourself, which I appreciate actually. I mean, but I did have to do a lot of thinking. And I remember like Nicole and I, when we were watching this, we kind of were piecing together some of the characters and trying to figure out the dynamics. We're like, oh, this person must have been with that person, and this must have happened. So Zach was the guy that was like half there, who she strung up in the tree. That was the name of that guy.
No. I was talking about the guy that she first washed up with.
That was Brad, right?
Yeah, I think.
Okay, yeah,
Brad.
I got the names down.
Okay.
Anyway, so like those kind of two sections of the movie, by yourself and when the other cast comes in. Did you either of you two have like a preference for like which part of that movie like stood out to you more, or did you just like how the pieces fit together overall?
Mark, why don't you answer?
I mean, I like how they both fit together. Like I was still, the first parts didn't have a whole lot of action and stuff, but I thought it was still fascinating how, how they were showing how she's surviving and you kind of put yourself in that position of what you would do and you're kind of figuring out what she had gone through and how she got here and all this stuff. So it kept my attention in the first half, even though there wasn't a whole lot of action. And then like, for me, it really kicked in. The one scene that really stands out to me is the one night scene where she shoots the flare gun up in the sky and it comes down and you see the outline of the creature in the water. And I think that this is like really just a great scene, how they did that. And that kind of just kicks things into high gear, and that kind of like raises the stakes and everything. And so I think it all works together really well for me.
I would say the second half for me. With when her boyfriend and I think the girl's name is Mia that shows up. I think when they show up, it was definitely really captivating when she was by herself, and like I think that the performance was there. It really like held up in a way that like it can be tough with these movies where it's so performance based and you're by yourself like that. But I think it was just like the quandary that she was in when they arrived of like, okay, I get it. You also had a really bad couple of days here where you were on the water and like you didn't know if you were going to survive, and that's traumatic. But we have to go back out there. That was better than what I went through. And like trying to get these people to believe that is so fascinating to me, because it really, all of our experiences are so relative that like in that moment, like they don't want to hear that they had the second worst experience. They don't want to hear that like it might get worse than it already has. And they're fighting back in a way that I guess just growing up in America has made me believe is a lot more believable than you'd think. Like people will stick to their guns and pick something even if you actively tell them it's the worst choice, and that is a patriotic move. What about you, Joe?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think I was frustrated when the other two characters showed up, because like I get why like your initial reaction is not to be like, okay, a monster here, okay, but I was like having like just spent all that time with our main character Jen, like dealing with the monster. Like I was just so frustrated with how kind of dismissive they were, like, and like I felt like mad, like viscerally on her behalf when they like tied her up to the tree, and it was nighttime. I'm like, yeah, you idiots. Like I was almost rooting for the monster at that point. Like, come on. But yeah,
they were like, especially the boyfriend was like just the biggest douchebag. It's just I don't know if the the actor's face just it was just perfect for this role, because I don't know if he's like that in real life, but he just exuded douchebaggery.
Hopefully not in
I
real
really couldn't tell if he's like the best actor ever or the worst actor ever, in that how annoyed I was by him. And I was like, well, that's good casting, because even if he's a bad actor, like I hate him for a couple reasons now. But yeah, no, he was like I hated him more than the monster. Like the monster, I understood, like this is your house, yeah, that's your black hole. You've probably been there for centuries.
Yeah. But like you said, it was interesting though, because I mean, if you're in their position and you like survive this shipwreck and you're like on the raft for days or whatever they were, and you get to shore, you don't want to hear anybody saying, oh, we got to get back on the raft and go back out into the ocean and hope that we get rescued. So it was a pretty interesting dynamic there. But yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I might be. Did I miss something, or is it just implied? Did you guys pick up on anything? Did they kill that one pilot dude or whatever? Like the dude that shows up ashore on
yeah, I wanted to bring that up too. Yeah. I want to bring that up too. So like we had these clues, like she saw like there was like blood on his pocket knife. That guy had like knife wounds, and then when they get on the raft, there's like bloody handprints in there, and like it seems very evident that like Lucas and Mia like went through some shit together, like more than perhaps just the surviving of the wreck. I think that there's like an undercurrent implication that they might have killed him.
Well, yeah, I think that's the only thing that makes sense. He had a safety vest on him.
Yeah.
Which implies that like he was probably on the boat with them and the rations were getting low and they had to like make a choice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's an interesting thing to include and just really not super explicitly state. Like it's just like kind of a background thing.
Yeah. It kind of, I think it just kind of helps us not feel so bad when they die. It's just another reason to get rid of them.
Right.
Yes. But so another reason, on top of all the reasons that we hate Lucas, I think they do a good job. Like, the movie does a good job showing of like how maybe like Jen, as somebody is like who she talks about how she's not believed a lot. Like, people don't believe her, and she's people talk down to her, and like, so they don't believe her. But then later on, even when the monster's shown and Lucas believes her, now when they're on the raft and the monster attacks, he first off, he doesn't even admit that he was wrong at any point. But on the raft, he says, "I thought you said they don't come out at night." He was still like blaming her for like the problem they were in. So like, they kind of do this interesting and kind of well done, like almost kind of subtle, like depiction of how he's like gaslighting her, like I said before, or like almost like abusive in that manner. Did you guys pick up on that?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So abusive. The dude sucked. And yeah, like even then when like after he has to like be like, all right, fine, there is a monster. He's just kind of useless for the whole rest of the time. That's kind of a bummer. Yeah, it was, and that's like, I like it. Like, it was like, this needed extra tension that he really, really easily brings into it. It's such a, like, it's very loaded how much like he like relies on power dynamics that are not applicable there. You know what I mean? It's like, it doesn't matter if you're the richer one anywhere else. Like, and if you haven't seen Triangle of Sadness, like, it really directly is like a dissection of stuff like that, where it's like, okay, fine, you're the rich person in a city that exists miles away, but when we're on an island, who is the rich one? Who is the powerful one? Who is the one that actually has the upper hand, and who's just bringing up the past to try and like make me feel little?
Yeah, that's the cool thing about this movie, is that you really can read it on a couple of different levels. I mean, it's, on one level you can enjoy it as a monster movie, but as you were saying, the title Sweetheart really implies that there's something deeper underneath. I mean, they could have called it, Land Shark or something like that. But if it was just a straightforward monster movie, but Sweetheart means like you're saying, it's kind of a gaslighting term where he uses a couple times to kind of dismiss her fears and push them to the side. So I think it's just, on another level, it's really about, gender dynamics, and even you could even read racial dynamics into it. Like, it's this Black woman is kind of saying that there is this danger going on, and these two white people are just dismissive and don't believe her and that sort of thing. So I think it really can be taken in a number of different ways, depending on how you want to do it.
I really do think that like maybe there's a world where she could have at least convinced them to like help her fight this thing. Like, she could have just been like, fine, maybe it's a monster, maybe it's just a really big wild animal. Either way, we cannot go a whole night with our defenses down about it. So like, she could have like fortified their space and like had more numbers on her side, as opposed to just a one-on-one fight at the end.
Yeah, she could have made a few better decisions, I think. Like, I think when she tried to just steal the raft and leave them there, it was, it's understandable, but you can't be too surprised.
Why is she that close to the shoreline though? Like, to them, like, that's a whole, like, there's got to be miles of shoreline. Like, I would have just, if I'm really serious about leaving, I wouldn't do it in their view.
Well, that's the other thing I was wondering. I was like, this island is not, I mean, it's small for an island, I guess, but it's not that small. I'm just wondering, like, could you just move to the other side of the island? Maybe the monster doesn't go onto the other side of the island, that's.
Yeah, it sounds like it lives in the black hole for most of the time and only comes out at night, which means it can't go that far.
Yeah, she's just camping in front of the black hole and then just stays there.
Right. Just, man, with the market the way it is, I can't just up and move.
Exactly. Location.
Oh, man. I do want to give a shout out to Kiersey Clemons. She looked really familiar to me, and I looked it up, and she was actually in this movie. I think it was like a 2017 movie, Dope. If you guys have ever seen it or heard it.
Oh yeah, love it.
We saw it together, Khalid.
Did we?
Yeah, like in a theater.
Oh, Wow, you are just like revealing things to me that I should know.
I remember theater things, I guess.
You do. You're really good about theater things. I just like I saw her. I was like, oh, she was like the tomboy in that one. It was like her, Revolori, and Shamik Moore were like a trio, right? Yeah, I think that she's pretty versatile because like it wasn't until I IMDb'd her that I realized it was her, and it's like she doesn't look that different. Like her hair is more or less the same and everything, and age wise it's about the same time period, and it really just comes down to like I think she's just a really good underrated physical actor in how she carries herself, because she's like supposed to be more tomboyish, and I think she might be a lesbian in it, in Dope. And then in this, like, I don't know, it's just like something about how she carries herself and like is doing things that I just felt like a completely different person in a way that actors are going for.
Yeah, she's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Did you guys read the fun fact about how in this she actually fell in love with her stunt double in this movie, and they're still together in real life?
Aww. That's awesome.
Kind of sweet, yeah.
Yeah.
Although, does that make her really narcissistic or what? I don't know.
Maybe.
You look just like you're so beautiful. You look just like me.
Now there's two of me.
That's great.
That's her wedding vows, actually. I just looked them up.
Perfect.
Oh man. Yeah, and then I guess I think the last big thing I want to say about it is like the action was really good. Every time the monster came in for a fight, I think that they did it really well. There's a fun like digital filmmaking aspect to this that I think it could have just looked like bad, and there's a world where it would look bad, but like they really took advantage of it in a way that just made it feel a little bit more like tangible, almost like you're watching like a documentary or something.
Yeah, I will say one thing that is a pet peeve of mine in all movies, particularly usually horror movies, was the creature that kind of like easily dispatches like people who are, the lesser characters in the story or whatever. They'll swipe them, one swipe and they're dead or whatever. And then they get to the main person and they just like this creature in here was like backslapping her. He's got these huge claws, and yet he hits her with the back of his hand, and she goes flying, whatever. Totally, non-lethal hits and whatever over and over again. It's just like, turn your hand around if you really want to kill her. Just use your natural abilities here. So that was a little, thing that I always notice, and that happened a couple of times in this movie.
Well, you probably lose a lot of chunks of flesh doing that. Like, the whole thing is like you're taking these things back to your lair in the ocean, and you want to eat it. You don't. It'd be like if you took like a tree chopping axe to like your plate of chicken.
Okay.
Will it technically work? Yes. Will you not eat as much chicken as you would if you use cutlery? Yes.
It's just being efficient. Okay.
Exactly.
There you go.
Yeah. And this is just another movie that teaches us a valuable lesson to not mess with the ocean, I think, which I appreciate the PSA that this movie is offering in that regard. Joe knows my feelings towards the ocean, but I'll say it again. Yeah, it is not to be messed with, and we should know better.
Mm-hmm.
Not even if you're on land. Don't even get near the ocean. Apparently,
islands are not on land. That's trick land, Mark. That's
trick land.
that's bait land. You don't want to go there.
I kind of enjoyed the climax, the ending with the one that kind of has like the Predator vibes at the end, where they're like she's like setting up the traps and kind of like the final showdown thing. But I kind of like that, it's still like not like Predator, where she's like an expert. Like she's never been an expert of like doing anything on the island. Like I kind of like how it's almost like it's like what we would do. Like we know enough like fun facts and kind of trivia to maybe like make it work, but she's like no survivalist, and it's evident with some of the things that she does. But I do like how she, I love those montages of setting up traps and like being ready to like fight the monster. I thought that was a blast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that was a great like little montage of her prepping for it, and it just kind of being like, well, maybe that'll work. Your guess is as good as mine. You got to do something.
I always appreciate, these movies that don't, shy away from a one-on-one showdown. Like a lot of these movies, you're like, okay, you're building up to this big showdown, and they cop out. They have some sort of way for them to get out of the situation, whatever. But they really just went with it here, so that was cool. And I think that they did a good job of not showing the creature too much, because I think, it's kind of a low-budget movie, and I think if they really showed it a lot, it would kind of veer into Power Rangers territory. So
Yeah.
I think they did a good job of kind of showing as much as they needed to, but not like have it look like this guy in this big rubber suit, So it was cool.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Big guy in a suit energy from the monster,
which I kind of love. And
I'm sure you did. I saw that. I was like, this is Joe's whole deal.
I do love that stuff. Yeah, and that's a good segue. Should we just monster it up?
Let's monster.
So, Mark, when we kind of transition here in the podcast to just dig into like the monster itself, and like I have a lot of interesting facts about like behind the scenes stuff and like kind of in universe whatnot. But I'll throw a little bit of stuff at you guys, and we can discuss along the way. Right away, though, I wanted to just shout out. So the guy in a suit, like you were saying, is in this movie is Andrew Crawford, who was actually a ballet, like a professional ballet performer in Australia. And he also played a practical xenomorph in Alien Covenant a little bit. So he was the one who was in the suit here. And interestingly, the suit itself weighed about 180 pounds, made of foam latex. And I found this cool interview with J.D. Dillard and Fangoria, and he says, quote, "If you were to ever actually fall in the water, it basically doubles, if not triples, in its weight because of all the water it absorbs. So it could easily drown.
God.
You could easily drown in the suit. So it's sort of this cosmic irony that our aquatic creature was not allowed to get wet."
That's horrifying. So
right?
You fall in the water and suddenly you're 3 times heavier.
Yeah.
Wow.
That should be a freaking movie. Like, that's scary.
The behind the scenes, yeah, we gotta watch the extras or something. Yeah. But yeah, essentially, they point out a bunch that the suit was very unwieldy. They shot in Fiji, like an island off of Fiji, where it's super hot. So Dillard says that they made a point to be very conscious of listening to like Crawford's limitations and keeping the VFX team like involved to be like, okay, we need to take a break, or we need to stop here. This is too much, that kind of stuff. So I appreciate hearing that, given that it's not always true.
Yeah,
always feel for that.
They probably had to hire somebody to follow him around to make sure he didn't fall into the water or something.
Probably.
Right, and it's very secondary, but the suit couldn't have been cheap on a movie set like this. Like, they don't have the money to make another one.
That's a great point, actually. So the suit itself, this is kind of a cool fact. So we talk about a lot of different creature designers on this podcast, but the design was done by creature designer Neville Page, who he was, I guess, J.D. Dillard and Page knew each other from like Bad Robot. They both worked there for a while, but he did like Cloverfield. He did stuff on Avatar. He did Prometheus. Khalid, we know him because he did a bunch of the designs for Discovery. So like Star Trek Discovery, the tardigrade and all that stuff. He did those designs.
This had a lot of like newer age Star Trek vibes with the creature design.
Yeah, I definitely got that. But so Neville Page is like a big budget creature designer, but he's kind of buddies with J.D. Dillard, so ended up doing this for kind of on the cheap.
I mean, that's nice. That's nice of him.
So I mean, yeah, right. But what'd you guys think of the monster design in itself?
For me at least, again, like the problem was like the first like 2/3 of the movie, it kind of only appears at night, and I just was having a hard time discerning things. And so I was trying to make sense of it. But like when I finally got like a good sense of the monster and like what it was doing, I think my favorite was when it was in the water. I think that's when it was like its scariest to me, just because like one, everything was just lit perfectly there. So like it was just like very clear like where the humans were in relation to where the monster was and all the action that was happening, but also just like its movements and stuff like that. I really feel like the movie just like took the most advantage of like the creature, and that's why we saw it the most there.
Yeah, I like that it had kind of the dual phases. It had the water phase and it had the land phase, and so had the one cool scene where she's running down the coast, and he's like the creature is like in the water and then jumping out of the water and then jumping back onto land and back into the water, and kind of it can move faster in the water, so it kind of jumps into the water to catch up to her and then jumps out to attack her and stuff. So I thought it was really cool to have that kind of amphibious nature represented. And like I said, I think it's good that it was a little hard to see in the night scenes. I turned the lights out and stuff, and I have a blackout curtain here, so I was able to make it out okay. But I think it's kind of good that it was not shown too much, because, like I said, I think it had the potential to be a little, Power Ranger-y.
I think what I liked about the creature design was that like this felt like the kind of creature that could have been around, like I mentioned earlier, like for centuries. And for some reason I kept thinking of Jason and the Argonauts, that old movie that like they'd show us in high school. And
Yeah.
like just like the idea of like the monsters that like the Greeks would fight and stuff like that. And it just, I was like, yeah, there's a world where like, because there's so like the ocean's so vast and it's hard to like really catalog everything in it. Like there's a world where like this thing comes out and they're just like, oh yeah, that's like one of like Poseidon's like all like little monsters, and he's like come to attack us and stuff like that. And it's like it somehow survived all these centuries, like just like living off of like shipwrecked people. And this is when we see it, and like it just felt like something that really could have like kind of informed the lore of the past.
That's a good point. I like that. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Also
like
a good way to do like a prequel or something, like if they wanted to go the prey route and just do like a ancient Greek story about like a seaside town that like has a monster that's going to attack, and it turns out it's this thing.
So you're saying that you think the monster is like terrestrial, like it's been on Earth for a long time. You think it's not like an alien, right?
Yeah, no, I think it's a terrestrial thing, or at least I want to think it's a terrestrial thing. If it's an alien, like I don't know what that adds. It just like becomes a less impressive monster then, like, oh, cool, dude. Like you're just hiding on like this like one island, big invasion plot. Ooh, I'm so scared of your species.
Well, we know it's been there for at least like a couple of decades, because she finds like a Game Boy and some old stuff from previous people who'd been on the island. So it's at least, been there for a little bit. It's apparently not doesn't have any imminent invasion plans, I guess.
Yeah, it's not taking over.
I mean, and it's pretty easy to kill. You know what I mean? Like all things considered, like based on the monsters we usually talk about, Joe. Like which
it's not superhuman.
Yeah, which back to back with From Dusk Till Dawn, which is the last one we talked about. Like this is like a pretty defeatable monster if you're prepared for it, which is probably why I was like bringing up like, well, she probably, if she knew that about the monster, she might be a little bit more inclined to try and team up with Mia and her boyfriend.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
I also think like, so I have another interview with Neville Page actually from Vulture, and I'll link all this stuff in our show notes for those of you interested in that. But he talks about how when he's designing a creature, he kind of like thinks about it in like zoological and biological terms. And he says, okay, so he says in the article, I got a quote. He says, quote, "The biological engineer in me starts to figure out, okay, you have to have a certain type of foot to be able to not sink into the soil. If you have stabbing claw-like, crab-like appendages, it's going to not be able to run in the sand. And then while it gets in the water, that foot has to turn into a fin of some sort, or a flipper." So he's kind of thinking like really practically, like how this monster like would hunt and like how it would work. So there's like, I think an appendage on the back of it that we don't quite see, but like, talks about all these like different details that were added in the suit, and if you kind of Google just Sweetheart monster, you can see like the concept art and the actual like suit like in full color, or like a full display of it. It's all white, which is kind of interesting, but you can kind of see like all these like little details on it and like kind of like where things were placed, and Paige kind of has like outlines for like what like biological reason this creature would have for that, or like how it hunts, or why it might have teeth. He mentions like why it has teeth because it probably has to hunt shellfish a lot or something like that. So I think that stuff's like, I like geeking out about that stuff. That's fascinating to me.
Yeah, that's cool. And I did remember I liked it made this particular sound that was like, it had a couple different sounds, but one of them was kind of like a chirping kind of, I can't even remember what exactly it was, how to describe it, but it was it seemed like something that probably was culled from nature somewhere. So it probably had some sort of purpose. So it was pretty cool.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. It was almost like a chuckle chirp thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was cool. But yeah, like it seems like something that almost like could be a sound that might actually draw something out almost, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I think her hammock thing, like it was like, I think like the second night when she's like, for sure there's a monster here, you know, and she starts to kind of try and like live according to that. I think the hammock was kind of an insane idea. Like that's just not a defensive move to me. Like all you're doing is you're suspending yourself so that like against something you don't know if it can reach you or not, you know? There were a couple of times where I was very frustrated by that. It was the hammock, which immediately was like proven to not be the best idea. And then just going out in the water at all. Like for me, I wish like the boyfriend or Mia had like kind of like just made an argument towards that of like, okay, say there is a monster, say we believe you. Why do you think going into the water where you confirm it lives makes the most sense? Like we're less primed to do anything about it there. Like we're already at the mercy of like anything that could happen to us in the ocean. So like now you're telling us there's this thing that's actively coming for us. And I do think that would have probably made their argument seem a little less like just frustrating.
Yeah, the hammock thing was especially insane because she'd already established like the habit of hanging meat in the tree to draw the thing in. So the thing was already looking up in the trees for its next meal. So why would you hang yourself up there? So yeah, I didn't get that either.
I mean, I get it, you know, like you only have your instincts to go on. So, and I can't even make a hammock, so she's got me beat there. But it was just a very, very confusing choice on her part.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. It did lead to that cool sequence where like she's in the hammock and you kind of see like her just looking out and like just subtle movement in the trees. I always love those kinds of shots. That was cool though.
Also, she kind of knows that it only attacks at night, or she's only seen it at night. So why wouldn't like you just don't go to sleep at night?
I was kind of thinking like you flip flop your schedule, right? Like sleep in the day.
What are you doing? Yeah. You got to go to work? Like,
oh man.
Yeah, but no, yeah, it was good. It was good.
It's a monster. It's a monster movie. Not too much logic is necessary there.
She's the perfect protagonist because you can't at any point just be like, "What were you thinking?" Because the answer is, "I wasn't thinking." You don't. Who prepares for this?
And then what happens at the end when the whole island catches fire? It's like, what's she gonna do now?
That was a very striking shot. I really liked that.
It was
just
cool.
Like, the pull out of it and just seeing like the wreckage. And I was just like, honestly, like I would be fine with it. Like worth it. That's a, cause you know, whenever, first of all, if she doesn't get saved from that, like the whole island on fire, if like a plane doesn't see that, then she's screwed anyway. But if a plane does see that, like that's a pretty badass distress signal. Like, yeah, I burnt the whole island.
Yeah, I thought like I like literally watched like the whole. It was a really long pullback on the whole island. Like the credits started rolling and everything, and I was waiting like there's gonna be like a shot of a plane flying around, but it never came. I was like, oh,
I mean that fire is gonna go for a day or two, so she's good. Yeah.
the same thing. I kept waiting for like a plane shot, like or the sound of a plane to come over. I actually looked it up online to be like, what do people think? Like, is she getting rescued? The director in an interview did say that he's like, I don't want to make it obvious, but yeah, the implication is that it's a way to get rescued.
No, the director did a really good job. Like, I don't think we ever really got like spoon fed anything, and everything was like the right amount of like realistically messy, in terms of like life doesn't happen as cleanly as some movies would like to believe.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess I should. You're not giving me a lot to pull from, Khalid, but maybe say, speaking of messy and clean things.
Ew.
I'm going to transition to our next segment of the podcast. Khalid, I got a question for you. Would you, in this situation, fight, or would you flirt with the monster to survive?
I've really been thinking about this one since watching it.
It sounded like you were.
Yeah, no. I think I have to preface this by saying that this follows the same rules as the Descent, a movie that we discussed a few months ago, in that I wouldn't ever have to fight or flirt in this situation because I would never be in this situation because
Nicole said the same. She said, I'm waiting for Khalid to say that.
Yeah, what are you talking about, Joe? Like the ocean? Why are you out there to begin with? I don't victim blame that often, but there are just a few like hard and fast rules since I was a child that have just never changed. One of them is like, do not go into the ocean. It is not your friend. The world is like 75% water, and the water was nice enough to give us large chunks of land to never have the two meet. Never the twain shall meet. And yet that we keep meeting and we keep getting into these situations and keep wondering why. And it's like the ocean told us. It keeps telling us. So that being said, if for some reason I was like with like a very clearly like passive aggressive partner who was rich and had like a boat trip in mind, and like I just forgot everything that the ocean teaches us daily, and I wound up there and I wound up on this island and the blah blah blah, the monster comes, I gotta fight this guy. Like I don't think our schedules align. I'm not really a night owl. I haven't been for a while. I've very much embraced my 30s and I like a good early bedtime. Also, his house is a black hole under in the sea. Even if I didn't have my rightful trepidations about the ocean, I don't think a black hole in the ocean is something you should just be honky-dory with. And yeah, I don't know. It just like he seems very, or I'm gendering the creature. It seems very work oriented or goal oriented. It's never really like, it's not even the type of monster that's like playing with its food, so you get some personality in it. It's very just like nuts and bolts, person kill. So there's nothing there for me. But yeah, I guess if I have to be in this situation, which again I never would, I would fight it. I'd have to. And it's not knife proof, which like that's already a million times easier to kill than a lot of the monsters we talk about. So yeah, fight it.
I love it.
What about you, Joe?
I think that I'm with you. Like I am maybe less like anti-ocean as you are, but
and that'll be your downfall, Joe.
Fair. I mean, that's probably it. But I mean, like I will say that water shit scares me. Like I remember like viscerally as a kid, like any scenes in movies when like they're underwater for extended periods of times, I'd be like sweaty, anxious, like that stuff like freaks me. So like any sort of relationship where I would have to like be underwater for the majority of the time, I think I'm out. So I by default, like I'd have to switch to fight. Plus, like it seems like the monster is pretty fightable. Like, I mean, after you spend like several nights just, being terrified, like I feel like by just being, if I've survived those nights, I'd be like sick of it. I'm like, I fight or die, I guess. Right.
Without spoiling Yellow Jackets, those girls would make quick work of this thing. This would be like a blip on their radar. You know what I mean? Like I can count 3 girls off the top of my head that are scarier than this monster.
How about you, Mark? Do you have a thought in your head? Would you fight it?
So let me get this straight. The options are fight or flirt, like cohabitat with the monster.
I don't. We took it that way. I don't know why we take it that way. Usually, it's like a way to like trick it into not killing you. I think it originally became, but then we took it in weird places.
Mark. Yeah, like at the end of the day, like I still believe in love, and I'd like to think that it wouldn't just be as like craven as, oh, I'm flirting with you to survive. I'm not a transactional person like that.
Okay. Well,
but you could take it how you would understand flirting to work.
Well, I mean, I don't think we would be very compatible. I think
you'd swipe left.
I think it would. I mean, I don't even think it matters what I think. I think it would just see me as meat, and the relationship would last like 5 seconds. So I think the only possible option would be to fight, because I think you'd have to, I don't think there would be any other possibility. So I would do my best.
What are your thoughts on the ocean?
I mean, I've never had much of a problem with the ocean. I don't love like being in the middle of the ocean, but I can go to the beach and wade out to, my waist, or I'm okay with that.
That's it. That's it. And even then, you can't get mad at the ocean if something happens. Like, you're already playing with fire, ironically, in the water.
Yeah. I do remember at one point when I was I went to Jamaica one time, and I do remember going in and like going up to my waist and then kind of lifting my arm out, and there being a jellyfish attached to my arm.
Oh my God.
And being like, oh, I won't do that again. So yeah, that turned me off for a while. For a few years, I didn't get into water after that, but I've gotten over it.
That's terrifying.
See, yeah, isn't it, Joe? Isn't it? Yeah, cave diving, going to the ocean. There's just stuff that my first question is always going to be why. Like, what's the best case scenario here?
What about a big lake? What about one of the Great Lakes? How about that?
I'm from Minnesota, so like I've learned to make my peace with lakes, and even then I have my rules, but I will entertain a lake.
Okay.
I will tolerate a lake.
You have strong water feelings.
No, Joe, I have the right amount of water feelings. You have lackadaisical water feelings.
Fair. All right.
You play it fast and loose, and I pray for you every day.
The water never saved anybody, but it killed a bunch of people. I think that's the rule to go by.
That's a great point. Wow.
Exactly. The water is not getting a key to the city for being a hero.
On that note.
On that one weird
note.
The most random thing I could say.
I love it. Well, I suppose we should start wrapping things up. We have one like final little segment we do on the podcast here, Mark, where we call it's called What the Fandom, and we just kind of share one or two things that we're just like watching, reading, or listening to that we're into that may or may not have anything to do with monsters, and definitely doesn't have anything to do with the movie. Just something that you're kind of like digging at the moment that you wanted to shout out. Since I feel like I forgot to tell you about that one, we'll let you go last. I always forget to tell people about the fandom segment, but Khalid, do you have What the Fandom with you this week? I messed up that question, but it's fine.
Thanks, Joe. I do have a What the Fandom with me.
Words are hard.
They can be, yeah. So my What the Fandom this week is gonna be the new Freevee show, Jury Duty. I don't know if you guys have heard about this. I saw a trailer like about a month ago, and it just looked so hilarious to me. Essentially, it's kind of a Nathan Fielder-esque type show or really more Truman Show than anything. Essentially, it's a film crew filming a trial, And the ostensibly the idea is that like the reason they're filming it is like it's this judge who has had 39 years of cases and this is his very last case, and they want to follow the trial from like beginning to end and follow the jury and all that, right? But the real thing is that everybody in this show except for one juror is an actor. So the juror is just like this like tall, like really nice guy, and he just like thinks a lot of weird stuff is happening on this case and has like no reason to like think that it's fake. Like he's just like, this is weird. Like crazy stuff is happening over and over again. And we're just watching it. And like I don't want to give too much away, but like there's like a big celebrity guest, or like there's a big celebrity star in the jury pool with him, which like throws things into like another level of like surreality of like you've got this actor who's playing himself like the actor, but he's kind of being like obnoxious and very just like hard to deal with. And like the whole time you're just like watching this one guy who doesn't know it's a bit, and you're just like, oh, he just thinks that's how he is. Like he just thinks he kind of has like a little bit of like an annoyance with like an A-list celebrity, and that's super hilarious to see. All these like really funny scenarios that they make him like they force him into. Like the big joke is that they make him the foreman, even though he explicitly says he kind of gets anxious talking and he doesn't really want to be the foreman. And like they come up with a really funny reason for like why he was picked to be the foreman. He's just like afterwards he's like, what? That's why? Like no. And I think that the other element of this that makes it like really recommendable is like it's not just a straight up Truman Show thing of like, oh, let's just like push this guy and like put the whole story on him and just like make things weirder and weirder. I think they wisely kind of like put like a release on the pressure valve for this, where instead of just putting it all on him, they kind of split the difference and also make it a straight up like comedy show. So like there are scenes where it's two people who are acting. They both know this thing is fake, and the juror who doesn't know is nowhere to be found. And they're just having like B plots, and they're just like having like act outs and stuff. And it's like really, really just a fascinating experiment because it kind of works. Like I would say the best way to explain it is it feels like a mix between Truman Show and that show that you and I really love, Joe, Trial and Error, that had 2 seasons.
Yeah, that's a great show.
There's very much like that DNA in this. And you know, I've only seen the first 6, and I don't know, I think there might be like 1 or 2 episodes left. They did like a very curious release strategy because I don't think there's that much of the season left, but they dropped the first 6 episodes at once. But that being said, like I burned through them. My roommate watched it that morning, saw that I had started it, and rewatched it all with me. So like that is that is how immediately digestible and watchable and easily enjoyable it is. Like a testament to that. So yeah, Jury Duty on Freevee. Give it a watch when you can. It's very enjoyable, very amusing, and yeah, they couldn't have picked a better main character, because like in the Nathan Fielder world, they usually end up picking people where you're like, I can't believe this person existed, and like with this guy, it's just like, oh, I know this guy, and yes, this is like this type of guy would react to all this exactly like this, and it's so funny.
You know, it's funny. There was a show a few years ago that sounded just a lot like that. I think it was called like the Joe Schmo Show or something like that.
Yes.
And it was the similar kind of thing where this guy, it was like supposedly a Big Brother type of reality show or something. Everyone was an actor except one guy. And they were doing all these crazy things, and like I think at the end they might have given him some money or something like that. But it was funny. It was hilarious.
I remember that. Yeah,
I read a review that like brought up the Joe Schmo Show, and like the thing they mentioned was like Joe Schmo was like the joke was kind of on him, you know, like that was the whole point of it. And it might have been like a little bit more mean spirited, whereas this one like. If you would call it a prank show, because I guess technically it is a prank, like it's a very good natured, sweet prank. You know what I mean? Like the meanest thing about it is that like he's while he's going through this jury duty, it probably feels like summer camp where he's like, oh, I'm making all these like friends and a bunch of them are weirdos and this is crazy. But you know, they're still my friends, and like for some reason they keep coming to me with all their problems. And I feel like if there is a like mean part of all this, it's like he's gonna get out and be like, oh, they're all actors. Like,
Oh, yeah,
I thought they were
Scott
just
said.
my weird. I thought they were just my weird buddies. Like, but no, it's I do think that it's like very good natured in a way that makes it easy to like laugh along and everything.
Well,
Cool.
you sold me. I think I'll check it out.
Please do, please do. And Joe, what the fandom with you?
Well, thank you, Khalid, for asking really nicely. I messed up that also. Wow. Thank you for Khalid.
I was gonna let it slide, dude.
No, I'm critical of myself now.
Wow. All right.
It's one of those episodes.
I respect
Anyway,
it.
all right. My fandom this week. I kind of just been wrapped up in watching Star Trek Picard. I know it doesn't really need a shout out, but I'm really excited about it because we just watched the penultimate episode, the 9th one of 10, the other day, and the finale comes out this week that this podcast is releasing. So I've been really excited about that. It's the final season of the show Star Trek Picard, the 3rd season. It's kind of been this sort of like really nice, kind of emotional and touching like swan song for the Next Generation cast to all kind of come together. Leans a lot on nostalgia, got some new ideas, but it's just like the nostalgia is really hitting hard for me because I'm a lifelong Trek fan, as most listeners know. So I'm really enjoying it. And there are, I mean, of course I have some critiques with it, but it's just such a really interesting different step from the previous 2 seasons of the show, which have done very diverging and different things to wildly different measures of success. And this one's been pretty consistently like on it and just a fun to watch all the way through. And so I just wanted to shout that out. It's been exciting. There's been like whispering rumors that there could be a potential like other show announced in the Star Trek universe spun off from like the characters we see here, like some of the new characters coming in. And I think that might be, it sounds like the hints are that's dependent on how well this show ends up doing, like on Paramount Plus. So I would say go watch it. So maybe we can get some more from this the showrunner and the creator, which would be nice to see. But I'm really excited to see what happens in the finale. It's left us in a very fascinating place in the 9th episode. I won't say where for those of you who are not watching or planning to watch. But yeah, Star Trek Picard season 3. It's been kind of nice. Like for people that didn't watch the first 2 seasons, you can kind of jump in at this point, and it's a pretty fresh story, and you can kind of like follow it. There are of course like references to the previous 2 seasons and other stuff and Star Trek lore, but you can kind of watch it if you haven't seen as much and appreciate it too. So that's my pick for the week.
Yeah, and I just want to piggyback that recommendation. Joe has convinced me to start watching Picard, and this season has been a real fun ride. And if you're not the biggest Trekkie like me, but you're familiar enough with the lore, like it's still like a very satisfying and engaging season of television. So definitely give it a shot.
Absolutely. So how about you, Mark? What the fandom with you?
Well, one thing that I've enjoyed recently is a new show on Amazon Prime called Swarm that is co-created by Donald Glover. It's kind of like it's really got like an Atlanta type of vibe. So it's kind of quirky comedy drama type thing. It's kind of like if Atlanta revolved around a serial killer. So it's like this young woman who's a fan of this singer who's very, very thinly veiled version of Beyonce. So is all these allusions to Beyonce and Jay-Z and all this stuff. And so she's just this rabid fan. And so she kind of has a tragedy in her life and kind of goes off the deep end and just basically goes around hunting down people who badmouth this singer and killing them. So it's pretty interesting. Like I said, it's kind of like a lot like Atlanta in terms of in tone, which means it's kind of, it can be funny, it can be serious, it can be just plain weird. There's a lot of nudity, if that's your thing. But yeah, it's really interesting. It's something you don't really see every day in terms of the main character as a black female serial killer. So to have her running around killing people, I think is a interesting change of pace, and I really enjoyed it. It's about, I think, 6 or 8 episodes, so it's a pretty easy watch.
Yeah, I think that was my What the Fandom a few episodes ago, and
Okay.
everything you're saying I completely agree with. It's I'm still thinking a lot about it. I can't wait to rewatch it.
Yeah, Khalid, you've been trying to get me on board on that one. I got to check that out very soon too.
Oh yeah, you'll dig it. You'll dig it.
Is it a limited series? Like it's only one season, or is it going to be more?
I think it's just a limited series. At least that's
Yeah.
how it's been pitched. No talk of a second season.
That's
Yeah,
kind of
it
cool.
should
Then I
be.
can
Yeah,
catch
I
up.
hope it doesn't. If they stretch it to 2 seasons, that would be too much. It would be too. They wrapped it up pretty good, I think.
Yeah, maybe if it was like an anthology, because I do think there's something about like the toxic fandom of it all that they could like
Mhm.
run away with. But again, like I'm sure that team has like plans for whatever they're gonna do next that I don't want to try and imply that they don't like have the right choices in mind.
Mhm.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, good Rex all around, I'd say. That's thanks everybody. And Mark, I just want to reiterate how much of a pleasure it was to have you on the podcast, and we really appreciate you taking the time to join us.
Great. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It was fun.
Yeah, it was really great talking to you, Mark.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Is there any like social media or like any like projects you want to plug before we sign off?
I'm on Twitter at Blackula is my handle on Twitter. So check me out. I grabbed that early on. So
Wow. That's good real estate.
Yeah, that's a good one. That was a good one. And yeah, I just got I got another book kind of collaborating with Robin coming out at some point. I don't know, this year, next year. She's editing an anthology of Black horror from around the globe. So it's kind of a series of essays. So I wrote an essay about Black horror in Brazil. So that's going to be coming out at some point. I don't know when exactly, but look for that.
Awesome. That sounds really cool.
Yeah, should be interesting.
Cool. Well, I'll link your stuff in the show notes as well, and links to the book Black Guy Dies First. And yeah, thanks again. I will just for our listeners, please, if you haven't already, give us a rating and review on wherever you're listening. I've announced that if you review our podcast and leave your favorite creature or monster, I'd like to read that on the air at some point. It'd be fun to give us some ideas and recs for what we could do in the future. And I kind of had a little bit of announcement for where we're going with this podcast. And this might kind of excite you too, Mark, but we're about to start a series here on Frankenstein's podcast. It's kind of the first time we've done this, but it's been, we've done like 50-ish some episodes. I think this might be like maybe we're in the 60s. I don't know exactly, but we've done several episodes over the past couple of years, and everyone, like you said in the beginning, loves the xenomorph from the Alien, and we have yet to actually cover the Alien movies. And so we are going to start doing that, and we're calling it Xenomania. And we're going to be doing each movie individually over the next several weeks. I don't know if it's going to be the next episode right away or maybe one more down the road, but it's coming up, and I'm really excited about it. We have I've kind of like got some cool guests that are related to the franchise in certain ways to have signed on to do some episodes. So I'm very excited to talk about that. So if you're listening, please be on the lookout for our Xenomania episodes coming up. And I'm honest, Mark, if you want to come back to do an Alien versus Predator, maybe sometime down the road, maybe part of that series too, we'd love to have you on there too.
Oh yeah, I would do that for sure.
Get in on the Xenomania, Mark.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
As someone who has seen very little of the Alien franchise, this will be quite the ride. I'm super excited. Yeah, I'm excited.
There's no water. No water involved in this.
I know Frankenstein, Eric is excited for me to have finally seen the Alien movies too. So this is going to be a cathartic for a lot of us.
Yeah.
There is one, I think, Alien, gosh, the fourth or fifth one. There is an extended underwater scene, though. You should.
Yep. No, I was thinking of
ready
that
for
exact scene when I talked about the underwater scenes making me anxious. Yeah, it's the fourth one. Right, that's the one I was thinking of.
Well, I can't wait for another reason to stay out the water. That being said, Mark, just as Joe was saying, it's been such a pleasure having you on here. This is a really fun conversation. Thank you again for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. And thanks everybody for listening to another great episode of Frankenstein's podcast. And until next time, creep it easy.